Hi guys, today I made a little test to see if the GTX 650 Ti Boost or the 660 are still usable for today's standards. So, is it still usable? Let's find out, shall we? First, a very lightweight game, Rocket League. It looks amazing and runs at a smooth 60 FPS on all ultra settings. If the video seems a little stuttery, excuse me for that. It's not my in-game FPS, it's the recording program that I use. It's OBS. Shadowplay didn't work after the patch, so I've got to use a third-party app or program to record my gameplay this time around. But as you can see, this title is not demanding for the 660 Ti Boost or the 660. Actually, it can handle it fine. It's just to show lightweight games, medium weight games, and very demanding games on this system. So the most lightweight game from 2015 I had laying around was Rocket League, so I thought I'm gonna test this out, and as you can see, it works fine at 1080p. It also works fine at 2K, and it even works fine at 4K on this card. So that's a very good thing. Now, moving on. A bit of a more demanding title, BF4. As you can see, it's all fine on high settings, which I play on most of the time in 1080p. Personally, I played the game for around 400 hours and I never experienced a problem on high settings. Although, if you are going to play on ultra settings, it will work. You get a nice FPS, but that's only for like half an hour. After the half an hour, the GPU will slow down drastically because of it has only 1 GB of RAM, and that's not a lot for a game like BF4, which has superb graphics and all sorts of effects mixed in. So if you want a buttery smooth experience, I recommend to play on medium-high settings with anti-aliasing turned off. That's the best setting I found with my setup, which I listed down in the description, and which you saw in the beginning of the video. So that's BF4. It works fine. It's still working fine on all maps. 1080p. I wouldn't recommend to play it on 2K, but 1080p it's totally usable. Now a new game, Rainbow Six Siege, which we saw in December. By far the most graphical detailed game I've seen so far. It runs great on medium settings, on my setup at least, but going a bit higher in the settings will definitely hurt your experience. A weird thing I personally experienced is that on the mode Terrorist Hunt, which I played most of the time, which was also an offline game mode, there are about 30 NPC AI just running around, destroying everything, shooting me, doing the most weird stuff, and it didn't even hurt the FPS by nothing, but the multiplayer does. So if you want a buttery smooth experience, which is very important in the multiplayer, I should crank down the settings to low or medium. So that's also totally usable. And at last, I ran my setup through the Unity benchmark, which absolutely demolished and destroyed my setup. So as you can see, this card is maybe fine for some light to medium editing and rendering, but if you're planning to go render something in Blender or Cinema 4D or After Effects, some sort of that program, I won't recommend this card. It's usable, but it is just a very slow experience. So if you're planning to do Cinema 4D stuff, all that kind of stuff, I would actually recommend to buy another card and not this one. So to round everything up, is the GTX 650 Ti Boost or the 660 obsolete or unusable for today's standards? I should say no, they are still totally usable for light and medium editing, and they can play about any title I bought on this PC, which you can see on the screen right now. But not all of them on high or ultra settings, of course, but all of them in 1080p Full HD. I would say the cards are still very usable, but for future game titles, which will be even more graphical detailed, and with the newer high resolutions like 4040p and 4K, it may be smart to do a serious upgrade, but for 1080p like me, it's totally usable, guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful for you. If you've got any ideas for future videos, or maybe you want to tell me your experience with this card, note them down below in the comment section. I also really love feedback, negative or positive. If you've got anything to say, just say it to me. I love it. Thank you. Peace.